Another week, another game, and this is the first time that we're going to cover a user suggestion. I've had, I think, 3 or 4 titles suggested to me, and I found this one the most interesting. It's probably a game that we're not going to be able to go too deep into because it's a little bit more modern than the ones we've covered so far, and the graphics and the amount of levels in Cannon Fodder are quite vast, and it's just going to be way out of the scope of a couple of weeks. But one part of it that really intrigued me, and something I've never coded before, is the pathfinding. So when you click on a point for your people to walk to, how do you do that? And it might seem quite straightforward. So in kind of your early days, maybe if playing with Clickteam, you learn that you can figure out where the position of the mouse is, and what you can do is just gradually move the units or whatever to that point. But the problem with games like Cannon Fodder, same with Command and Conquer and other real-time strategy games, is that there'll be a tree in the way. Well, hang on, when there's a tree in the way, the unit can't go through the tree. The unit has to find some way of going round the tree. And that's going to be really, really tricky to figure out. Luckily, I think there's an extension that might help us out with this. So, no further talking, let's get to it. So, the program I'm using, as always, is Clickteam Fusion. I've got the developer one. Developer one does give you access to a few more extensions, and I'm using the 2.5 Plus, which is the, I think, most up-to-date build, I assume. So I've just clicked a new thingy-bob, and I've realised that I start these off without saying what program I'm using. I think most of you already know, but if you don't, that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to start off with some actives, and I'm just going to have this as the kind of player active. Maybe I'll do a stickman, actually. That'd be quite cool. So let's get rid of all this. So delete. And let's do a stickman. He can be my unit. And actually what I want to do, so Control and Z, I want to just fill it. And so this will be my stickman. Made up of circles. Or ovals, whatever. There we are, that's Mr. Sticky. Right, what I can do is I can shrink the borders by cropping. There we are, so that makes it there. And we probably want the movement all to be at the bottom middle, so the hotspot to be at the bottom middle, because that's where we're going to be rating where that player is. So if there's a tree or something, then we can compare it to that, whatever. So we're going to be controlling this object from the bottom middle, and then generally that's where you'd want to control like people, objects and things like that. Is he big enough? Could make him a bit bigger. Probably should have made it bigger before, because now it's all weird. Let's keep it that small. Fine. Okay, now I need to have, I'm going to do 3 points. Okay, so I'm going to have a point here, and I want all the action points to be in the middle this time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this, so we get a brand new active. I'm going to put it down here, and then clone this, and I'm going to put it here. Okie dokie. So I'm going to put like a background. Yeah, backdrop will do. Oh no, it won't. I'll do a quick backdrop, which is there, because then I don't need to worry about anything. I can just change the colour or the fill of it into green. Ooh. Yeah, there could be vegetation. Okie dokie. This is looking good. Alright, so this is our player here. This is our unit. And this is, well, we'll talk about what these two are in a second. But this is where he wants to go. So this is his destination. Okay? So, I've put these two here because he will either have to walk up here and down here, or down here and up here. That's his choices. Now we want something to not only sort of do that movement for us, that would be cool, wouldn't it? But we want also something that will pick whether this or this is the quickest route. We don't want him going all the way around it. So when we click our mouse here, we don't want him to go all the way around here, go over here, have a burger there, go around here, have some fries there, drink a Coke there, and then go there. We want him to take the most efficient route, because in your head, if he's up here, the most efficient route is here. That's what you would want. We would want him to go up here and then down here. You wouldn't want him to go all the way around here. So we're going to use this to see whether what we are doing will tick that box. Okay, simple as that. So I've mentioned that there is an extension for this, thankfully, because the mathematics of this is ridiculous. If you want to know the mathematics of it, type in, I think it's A star algorithm. And the A star algorithm basically works out where he should go, like by looking at the shortest possible routes between what we call nodes. And these we're going to call nodes. In fact, let's call these nodes. So this is our node. What is it? Node 1? No, this will be node 2. We'll explain that why later. I don't know why I keep saying we. A lot of my channels, I pretend that there's more than one of me. Maybe, I don't know. And then we'll call this node 4. Okay, so yeah, let's get programming. So let's do the extension, which will help us out. And the extension, I can't remember the name of, path movement object, advanced path movement. There we go. Now, if you don't have this, I'm just going to ignore all the defaults. If you don't have this, you'll need to go into your manager and then type in path movement. Okay. Now, I try my best to do a little bit of prep before these, which is why I've already got this. I didn't have it before, but I did a quick one just to check that I wasn't going completely down the wrong path, because it's quite irritating filming a long video and then realise you've completely missed the point. Okay, now with most extensions in Clickteam, they give you a little graphic here. That actually won't show up. So if I play it now with that in the title, it doesn't show up, all right? These are never designed to actually, these are just designed so you know if you want to edit the advanced path movement, you can click here and go into the options and edit it. So you can go into the settings and edit it, okay? Am I an expert in this object? No. There's going to be things I have no idea what they do. So you can either check the help file, or you can just play around with it. I prefer playing around with it, because if you look in the help file, it's not very helpful, to say the least. There's also amazing Clickteam forums where you can get information about how to use extensions, and also you can watch this video. Yeah, that's simple. Okay, so we're going to start. I'm going to do start a frame. And I've got to kind of talk through what this object is and what this object isn't. This object doesn't know anything about what you've done at all. Do not assume this object knows anything. It doesn't know that you want this to be the player. It doesn't know that you've set up some nodes here for it to go and walk through. It knows nothing. It is a stupid object. So a lot of stuff in Clickteam, does interact with other things, that knows relationships between things. This does not. This only knows what you tell it. If you don't tell it something, it won't know it. Simple as that. So we need to start off by telling it a whole load of stuff. So we're going to go to the advanced path movement and start just explaining the whole thing. So we've got a new path node. So we want to create a new path node. Now remember before where I named the first node, node 2. Well, where the person is always going to be the first node. Okay, so we need to say, right, the X position of our first node, and this is number based, and it starts at 1 for some reason. A lot of things start at 0 in Clickteam. This starts at 1. So our first node, our node number 1, will be at the X position, and what I do here is I just press Control C, because I know what's coming up next is the Y position. Simple. So now it goes, okay, right. So if I go back to it, it goes, oh, yep, there's a node here. And a node is just like a point. And I probably should put up some paint thing to show this. So I'm going to do that at the end. Okay. The next thing we need to do is show it some more nodes. So what I'm going to do is double click here. And the beauty of double clicking it is you can actually copy and paste these now. So Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. We've got 4 nodes, so we need to talk to it about the 4 nodes. This time we're going to just use the positions of these, and what you can do is just copy and paste that, and copy and paste that. And what would be more sensible actually is copy and pasting that, because that has the same name. So what I can do is Control C, Control Z, there we are, and then just change that to node 3, and then change this one to node 4. Okay. Now we're going to do this manually at this point. Some of you might be screaming going, can you not do this automatically? Of course we're going to do this automatically. When we think about the complexity of how many nodes we're going to need for doing cannon fodder movement, yeah, we're going to have to do this automatically. But anyway, for now we're going to do this manually. So, right, I'm going to open Paint. Just bear with me. I'm going to pause it and then suddenly Paint will appear. Aha, magic. Right. So what it can see at the moment is this. It can see node 1, node 2. I'm rubbish at drawing that. I think if you hold down, yeah, there we go. If you hold down shift, it will do a nice circle. So let's do these as nice circles. Do you mean I've got OCD? No, I don't. Right. And one down here and then one over here. So that's what it knows. It also knows that this is 1, this is 2. I'll probably do this inside actually. So this is number 1, node number 1. This is node number 2. This is node number 3. And this is node number 4, right? That's what it knows. Now, you might say, okay, well, can we not get going because it knows where the nodes are now? It's not that smart. Again, you've got to assume that this thing is really not very smart at all. So it won't know anything other than what you tell it. So it won't even know that these can connect. It won't know how to connect. It will think you can just, if it did, it could think that you could just connect node 1 to 4. So we need to tell it how it can connect, okay? So we need to give it more information. Oh my goodness. This is getting greedy now, right? So we need to tell it how it can connect. So looking at here, no. Here we are, connect nodes. Okay, so node number 1, remember it starts at 1, there is no node 0. Node number 1 connects to node number 2. Okay, now this is going to be really useful for later on because it shows you, well, what speed do you want that to be? Normal, slow, or fast? You might think, well, what's the point of that? Well, if they're walking normally, that's just a normal walking, but slow you might want for if they're walking through water, which in Cannon Fodder, when they walk through water, which they can do in Cannon Fodder, I don't think they can in Command & Conquer, but they can do in Cannon Fodder, they walk slower. If they're walking on ice, you want them maybe to walk faster, for instance. So I'm going to set all of these to normal because, yeah, it's going to be a lot harder to try and figure anything out. We want to try and keep these simple. Now, what we've done now is connected node 1, and I'm always check the size of this. We've connected node 1 to node 2. Or have we? We actually haven't. What we've done is we've connected node 1 to node 2 in only this direction. Okay? So with this, you can actually, or you have to say that it's a two-way relationship. So you have to then connect it the other way. We're not going to worry about that yet, but that will bite us in the bum later on. Okay, and now I'm going to double click again, and I'm just going to copy and paste these because it'll be 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 2 to 4, and 3 to 4. And just be careful, because when I did this before, I was looking at that 1 there. That 1 is just the speed. It's these 2 here you need to look at. A little bit of a tip there. Right, so if I go back to it, I've now put in this relationship, 1 to 3, in this direction. I've put in 2 to 4, and I've put in 3 to 4. Simple. I say simple, not that simple maybe, who knows. Okay, right, so that's all the nodes sorted and all hooked up, which is amazing. But if I press play on it, if I run the application, it doesn't do anything, right? Because all it knows now is the connections, but it doesn't. I haven't told it really what I want it to do. And so that will be the next thing we're going to do. I'm going to stop right there, and that is what we're going to do tomorrow, is figure out how to move our character to this place and how we make sure that it takes the most efficient path. So what the beauty of doing it this way is I can move this and check, because if he's in the middle and I move this towards the bottom, this is the best way. If I move this towards the top, this is the best way, right? And so in tomorrow's video, we're going to be hopefully letting him figure out what the best path is. But thank you very much for watching. Keep your comments, suggestions, all that stuff coming in. I really, really want the next one to be a user-suggested game to do. So please keep those suggestions coming in. This was not a game I would have thought of doing in a million years. And I used to play this not on the Amiga or PC or anything. I used to play this on the SNES. And I loved this game, and I loved Command & Conquer on the PC, I loved Red Alert, all those kind of games. So this was an amazing, inspired thing, and I've never ever done this pathfinding before. I am a complete novice, which I think is quite good sometimes, because I can share my frustrations with you. In all the other videos, I have not pre-done anything. I just did it today just to try and... Oh, sorry, and next video, where the person can get to that destination. That's the only ones I've kind of played around with in advance. I'm kind of got an idea of how to do it with more nodes. I think what we're going to do is kind of a grid-based system, and have the nodes created automatically from each part, which is not going to be easy at all. But keep watching and find out how successful I have been in doing that. I'll see you tomorrow for tomorrow's video. Thank you very much.